Commissioners Court to order. Everyone please rise. This time I'd like to say to you all, appreciate your patience in putting up with me wearing this mask. I had COVID last week, and the protocol is once you stop really active symptoms and all, then for the next 5 days following, you should wear a mask. So out of my concern and respect for you, I will wear the mask while I'm in the building this week or out in public and do that. But so I hope I can speak loud enough that it's audible, that you can understand me, but I'm going to follow that procedure. If not, I've got sort of capable commissioner, senior commissioner, Barry Muller can take over for me here. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Beecham to give the invocation.
Thank you, Judge. I think you all know Lynn Barnett, the MPO director of Wichita County, but you probably don't know his better half. His better half, Melissa, what I want y'all to be aware of is she actually prays over all the elected officials of the city with various pastors, and I'll let her speak on that, but I've asked her to do the invocation as well. Melissa?
Come on up. Yeah, please. Morning.
Father, we just thank you for today. And Lord, we ask you just to have your hands upon this meeting today as we call it to order. Lord, I ask you just to give great wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to each party here, Father. And Lord, I ask you that we thank you for the provision that you have given Wichita County. We thank you, Lord God, that you have had your hand upon us, that you will prosper us, and Father, that all provision, every need shall be met in all seasons over this county. And Lord, I give you honor and glory today. And Lord, everything that we do and say be unto you, Father. And we honor you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Before you leave there, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You had an event last week, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I sent you all a note. Tell us about that.
Okay, I'll tell all of it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Awesome.
Last week, Bunny Pounds has Christians Engaged, and Raphael Cruz came with her and spoke. We met at the camp center there in the ballroom, and so it was very powerful. They came and told us all about what's going on in this nation, what's going on in this state. Bunny Pounds had ran for office in 2018 for Congress. And so we had a very good meeting that night, and so it was very educational. You know, we need to pray, vote, and engage. That's the call that has been given. So, and with that and how we got started is, as Mark had said, I have pastors that come. I work in the Chase building on the 8th floor in Inspire Game Changers, and so we have all the local pastors come up once a month, pray over the city, pray over the officials, and this every household and business, and then we have a women's prayer meeting also that we pray over all the way from the president all the way down to our city officials and state. So we do a lot of prayer for everyone here, and we're excited about that. That's what we've been commissioned to do.
And we appreciate it very much.
Thank you. All right. If y'all would join in the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take your seats, please. At this time, I'd ask, I think we have some introductions to be made.
Yes, sir. I would like to introduce Haley Smithson. She started Monday in the HR office. She will be our new receptionist and HR generalist. Haley has a degree in business management from Midwestern with an emphasis on HR. And just learned this, she's learning Portuguese. And she said, one day I'd like to learn Spanish. So how are you doing Portuguese? Because supposedly it's harder, and this way in Spanish is easier. Not my way of thinking. But we're glad to have her.
Haley, very glad to have
Yeah. All right. And all of our Portuguese employees will appreciate that. You never know where you're going to have a chance to use that. It might surprise you. So, all right. I'd also like to welcome Ms. Jennings back. She fought the COVID animal also last week. And, yeah,
We missed you, Tracy.
yeah. So,
Welcome to Willie Wall.
yes.
Yeah.
Good to have our veteran Willie Wall back here with us, both a veteran of the armed forces and the county government. And so he's here. I don't know when he's going to start charging us for coming. Consultant. All right. Thank you. At this time, I would open the meeting for public comments at 10:09. Anyone in the audience or anyone on the call-in wish to say something? Okay. Hearing none, I will close then public comments at 10:09 also. I'd ask the court to take action on the consent agenda.
Judge, I had a question on number 14. What that was or what had happened there.
Commissioner Beecham, I think you can.
You know, Mark?
That's when there's someone backed into that door.
Yeah,
and
somebody
we've got a-
backed into it.
Yeah,
So
we've got an
Sally
insurance-
Port or? In the Sally
In
Port.
the Sally Port, in the new Sally Port.
Yeah, so it's been repaired. We're going to pay the repair. It's been turned over for an insurance claim and expecting to get a full reimbursement on that.
That'll be paid by somebody else to us, right?
Reimburse us, yes.
Okay.
But we need to get it done.
Yeah.
I have one thing as far as number 6. I received a message this morning about number 6, and I just wanted to see if I could get Cheryl to address that. There wasn't really anything on the backup information, so I would just like her to address that.
Yeah, and we're not spending any more money than we normally do. We just have the ability to use the debit card more for prepaid stuff that can't wait. Also, everybody is now traveling, so the hotels are now charging our card at time of booking instead of at time of travel. So we hold those out as reconciling items, but what it does is it takes down our ability to use our card when needed. So we're just raising that limit so that we can hold those reconciling items out there until they come here.
And I think in the past, we've all experienced checking into a
That's right.
hotel without our
Yeah.
card being available, so.
That probably should have been done a long time ago.
It should have. That way we should help eliminate some of our check-in problems at hotels and our
Well, and we had raised, this is, item 6 has to do with raising debit card limits so that we can have more
Not
fluidity,
spending more money.
not spending any
We're
more
not
money.
spending more money. We're just using a different method for
But the big difference is what you're saying, because we book conferences a month or two ahead of time. Well, if they go ahead and accrue those charges, then you've lost that amount of credit until later. So it's just a matter of good bookkeeping to raise those limits.
In
And
case of
another thing is, as a business, more and more companies nowadays are allowing you to pay bills via debit card instead of checks. So, you know, they're raising that.
necessary.
I mean, I know
I'll
it's-
get a short term and we don't have time to get it on the list, we will use the debit card to pay the bill.
Right.
And then y'all get the backup when we pay the debit card.
But since there was some concern, I just wanted to address that, so thank you.
In case of some of our conferences, we're booking them 6-7 months out in order
That's
to
right.
get, in order to get into the conference hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's holding it.
And that better rate is what saves our taxpayer dollars.
Okay. Anything else on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Fincan, a second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 1 is review on general business, review and approve the regular bills for payment. Order of County Treasurer to disperse payroll and bill payments within 72 hours via U.S. mail, FedEx, UPS, or electronically unless directed otherwise, or may be picked up and ledgered in the treasurer's office.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or questions on any of the bill items on the bills? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Fincannon to approve the bills as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is discuss, consider, or take action to assign parking spaces in the county courthouse east and west lots and the courthouse annex parking lot as indicated on the attached diagram to be effective August 1st, 2022. The disabled employee parking spaces will be assigned as needed through the Human Resources, issuing a 30-day parking permit. Commissioner Beecham?
Yes, Judge. I hate making lists because I inevitably leave somebody off by mistake. So I do have a few additions on the annex parking lot besides what is listed on the three diagrams.
Okay.
Space 14 will go to the county agent, and space 15 will go to adult probation.
You have 2 county agents, you know.
Well, with
You actually have 3 professionals and then I realize you're
we
not.
generally give how the formulation has been to give the department
county
head,
agent, okay,
yeah, the department head,
okay.
parking space,
And then the others to the adult communities, actually CSCD.
CSCD.
Okay.
And at the courthouse, I was made aware it was not reflected on the previous court order that our other 2 judges, the CPS judge and Judge Dockery, whatever court that is, the auxiliary court judges were parking in spaces out in the front parking lot. They were not assigned. Is it the court's pleasure to give them spaces, or, because it was not on the previous order?
Well, I think they may have, those were created probably after we did that order.
Yeah, we could assign them,
You want to put them there or in the west lot?
their west lot's full unless we take 2 DA slots, but I believe those are covered all by the DA's investigation vehicles, so.
So then keep them over there and,
Yeah, 17 and 18. The auxiliary court judges.
Mark, when you look at this courthouse east lot,
Yep.
is that, which one is closest, which end is closest to 7th Street? My left or my right?
You're right, 7th Street.
Right is 7th Street,
Yeah.
okay. I was reading it wrong, okay.
Yeah, I should have put a north arrow.
Entrance is right there in the middle of the handicap, isn't it? Like about,
Well, the entrance is just like it shows. It's entrance and exit on either end.
yeah.
So the handicap's right at the front door of the
that's
courthouse.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's there at 53 or 52?
Yeah, the handicap and loading zone, that changes. It just, we had all the parking in the back lot that's available after the sheriff's office has left, trying to free up as many spaces in that front lot for visitor parking as possible. That was the reason behind going through this exercise.
But everybody's seen this that's being affected by the parking assignments.
It's on the agenda.
It's on it, well,
What's that?
You just go to the website and print off the agenda.
It's not on there?
No.
Yeah,
okay.
The packets are sent through.
Right, but there's some people who may not.
I've sent out email and allowed everyone a chance to comment. I had tried to accommodate everyone's comment. I was only unable to accommodate one, but they still have a parking space. It's just not where they prefer.
we have a feeling for when that west door, when that's going to, that won't open for general access until the whole project's done.
Until after the first of the year when we open HR area, that whole area down below,
Yeah,
so.
but that's projected to be finished down there by,
Sometime right after the first of the year.
okay. Because will these people then that were parking on the west side, will they have card access then to come in?
They will have card access, yes.
Okay.
So they'll actually be closer to the elevator and building access than they are currently. Eventually.
I was in here yesterday, and I came in at the same time one of the assistant DAs was coming in, and what's going to be our deal on weekend or after hours on access to the elevator? Because the jail door was closed. You couldn't get to the auxiliary elevator.
I don't know why the jail door would have been closed. I'll visit with security on that.
Okay.
It should remain open because that's our access point now.
Okay, well, I want to say on behalf of the court, you all did a fantastic hustle to overcome that obstacle in such a short period of time. And
Thank you.
to do that.
Yeah, I'll visit with security. It shouldn't be closed. That access should remain
Okay.
open.
Neither one of us that came in needed it, but,
Yeah.
it could have somebody coming in bringing something, needing to take it up or planning on taking something down and out.
Yeah.
And then you were looking into a device to put on that stairway that would allow a handicap.
Down the stairs, yeah. I've reached out to a couple of companies that rent those devices. I have not heard back from either unless I got an email this morning, so.
Mark, Judge was telling me that we used to have a device like that
Really?
a long time ago. I didn't realize
It
that.
wasn't operational, it was not being used when I came here in '89, but it actually worked out of this west, you came in that opening underneath this west stairways.
Yeah.
You rolled up there, got in, went down, and then you went in through the sheriff's office.
Interesting.
And it was
Wish
just
we still
one of
had
those little elevator deals.
I wish we still had it.
Yeah.
Because from what I gather, they're pretty expensive to buy or to lease either way.
Yeah. What I was thinking is we might look at both options on that, simply because it may be worthwhile to have that as an auxiliary.
How hard are those to reposition? I mean,
They're not. They're built on a dolly system, so they just roll into place. You lock,
okay, so you
chop
can
the
like
wheels
use
down
them down there, the step down, or you can use them back here? Or,
Yeah, they're pretty portable.
Yeah, that'd be.
Yeah,
Okay.
Great. I was thinking,
Okay.
I can feel the vibes. Great. Yeah, okay, thank you.
So getting back to the parking lot, with those 4 amendments, adding county agent to space 14, CSCD to 15 at the annex, and the auxiliary judges to space 17 and 18. I'm sorry, my writing's too small for my eyes to see. At the courthouse, I'd make that motion to approve.
Thank you. You guys in the ballgame on this end? I need a second. Someone.
Oh, yeah, I'll second it. I think it's good, and I like the number, Mark, better than the,
Yeah, all the spaces will be numbered exactly as shown, so.
you know,
that way-
we had a trade around out here going because of the wording, so I think that'll kind of eliminate issues.
Well, having the spaces numbered also allows security to respond if we have a problem. So
Right.
if we have a problem in space 14, then they'll know exactly where to go.
Unless the car's pulled up over the number.
Well, they can still get a general,
Yeah.
in the general vicinity.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any comments on this item by anyone else? Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the parking lot, east and west parking lot assignments along with the courthouse annex as amended by actions and corrections. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. receive an update on the courthouse renovation, elevator projects, and county courthouse annex. Commissioner Beecham.
Well, we've already touched on a lot of it already this morning, but our biggest hurdle last week was the failure of elevator 2. It may be a blessing in disguise that elevator did go ahead and bite the bullet. We've been in discussion, contact with Tyson Crump. We believe we can modify the schedule for that second elevator and actually start construction on it sometime around September, which would put both elevators completion roughly at the same time, slightly around the first of the year, sometime around then. So it may not be a bad thing after all. It's just inconvenient. That life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Yep.
So hopefully we can take advantage of that. They are still doing massive demolition on 4 and 5. The robot is working out very well. I wish we would have had it from the beginning. We'd have been done with demolition by now. We have a few logistic problems dealing with the single elevator because that was the elevator that was being used for construction. We've had to modify some of the methods to use a SkyTrack or lull to lift stuff into the building as opposed to using the elevator. But we still have to transport between 4 and 5 some of the smaller items, which creates an issue, but we talked through it a little bit this morning. We're giving a set of elevator keys to the mason crew so they can lock off the elevator floors 4 and 5 and still use them and be able to move back and forth, but not let the general public have access. That way we don't leave 4 and 5 unlocked. So
wasn't that a bonus having that elevator, not in the original plan? Hadn't they planned on doing everything from externally in and out of the building?
They were doing a lot from the external, but they were still using that internal elevator a lot.
Okay, I didn't think that
Yeah.
had been part of their original
Yeah.
plan to have access that way. But either way, it's working out.
Yeah, we've just modifying how we're doing things, so. But other than that, things are going well. Still sheet rocking and drywall, starting to take bed and texture. It's starting to really look like something downstairs. But other than that, that's really it.
Any other questions on these projects? Okay. Thanks, sir. Okay. We are now ready to look at things on the 2023 departmental budget discussions as needed. One of the things we need to really take note of and is to what we're going to do about elected officials' salaries. But before we get to that, I just wanted to I gave you all a handout. We got our request from Shepherd Military Affairs Committee. It's the same amount as in previous years, it's $19,000, but they wrote this first part of July and it got misplaced in a former employee's desk, and we retrieved it over the weekend and got that out. So that will be added into outside agencies for coverage. But there's a good letter telling you what's going on that the Shepherd Military Affairs has been involved in. So it's worth your time to look at that. Okay, let's talk about the salaries. And there are two paths I had looked at on elected officials' salaries. And Ms. Jones, I'm going to give you this. I'm sorry I didn't make more. This idea came up. Commissioner Singletary contacted me last Friday. Would y'all leave or? No. I'm sorry I didn't carry it in here for you guys. Okay. While they're getting that, I'm going to go ahead and continue to explain. The thing we had looked at on elected officials' salaries, those that were below 50,000 would get 5% increase. Those that were above 50,000 would get 3% increase. The other considerations in there was one of the constables that drives a vehicle, because of the increased cost of gas and vehicle maintenance, and we saw a significant jump in the federal mileage rate. I looked at their amount of money and just simply look at what they drove at the reimbursement rate at the lower price, and then how far that went at the higher rate, and said we need to increase that. And in the constable's case, I looked at anywhere from $300 to $1,000. He requested, there was $1,200 in his budget that was for auto repairs, which he didn't have those because he drove his personal vehicle. So he asked for that to be moved over. So I looked at it, not knowing what's going to happen on the cost of all of this. Then I had leaned in the direction of adding that $1,000 out of that $1,200 into his auto allowance, and then the regular pay raise. On the commissioners, I had thrown out figures of $3,000 or $3,500, and I looked at, we did have mileage allowance in there, but they hadn't taken advantage of that. It's a lot of paperwork. You're in between things. It really takes a lot to keep up with it. So the idea was maybe to turn it back to auto allowance being recognized when we've got this kind of increase in that cost. And so we looked at it when I did the mileage rate into the $3,500, it came out they needed to drive 500 miles a month intra-county. And given times going out, supervising road work, hauling materials, doing whatever I didn't think 500 miles a month was an inordinate expectation. In fact, they might actually exceed that in trying to do that. Then Friday, Commissioner Fincannon had kind of done some things and talked about maybe we ought to look at elected officials' salaries, and he was looking at commissioners, and if I'm putting any words in your mouth, sir, please feel free to correct me. But
lower end elected officials, from commissioner
The bottom dwellers.
Yes.
Well, you're not the term. All right. I know y'all have used that term, but you're not. Go ask Constable Gowan, who's on the bottom.
Well, he's also in the lower level.
He's in the lowest level. Let's get it down to reality.
Our elected officials are probably the lowest, if not one of the lowest for county population.
Well, we in Taylor.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the Taylor County Treasurer has on everybody. But that's one of the highest, that's higher than the county judge's salaries. I think it's longevity. They have a longevity. Yeah. So that's where that works from. At any rate, I looked at a salary of $70,000 on them, sorry, Lori, county clerk, district clerk, the treasurer, who am I leaving out?
Tax assessor.
Tax assessor collector. And in his budget, because with his more people being outlying, then I raised the mileage reimbursement in there because it could be him going part of the time, it could be his chief deputy, it could be another supervisor. So that way they'd have a pool of money to file on and get similar, Lori, to how you do on elections with all the running around you had to do. So that was looked at. Well, when I applied that, then that meant elected officials in the mid-level, not going to get a reaction, okay, would get 7.6%. So what I did then was apply that to all elected officials below 100,000. Elected officials and the public defenders whose salaries are above 100, it would be at 3%. And I had a question from somebody, well, they're over 100, why? Cost of living has gone up for them too, and probably more than 3%. But that seemed to be a reasonable figure. And so that's kind of where it is. It's to decide, or give me your recommendations. I'm comfortable with either one. And, but like I say, it's still going to leave you all, if you look at comparable population counties, we're tied with Taylor County, who is probably the most similar county to us, and still has a higher tax base than we do, and a little higher population. But I think those are reasonable. So the difference in the, if you look at it roughly, the second plan, when I look at only commissioner salaries, is about 2,000 more than the 3% plus auto allowance plan. And that's a really rough guesstimate. That's almost more mental than actually calculated. But I think either in today's times and expectations of your all's jobs and the other elected officials, I think those are real. And when I look at that salary and I look at the kind of work that Ms. Bohannon and others have put in, the tax assessor has done, district clerk, I think it's probably time we look at those salaries and we go to that 70,000 level.
Judge, what's the math on, I'm looking at JP 234,
Yeah.
and that math, is that correct?
Well, I thought it was last night when I was doing it, but you might want to check it. It's that for 2, 3, and 4, which are at 53, that's 7.6%.
That's correct.
Okay.
What about on 62, 235?
Oh, I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
it can't be less.
Yeah, that's got to be
Yes,
wrong.
so the 62,235.
Is at 5.
That is not correct.
That's at
It's
5.6.
47,2986.
I did that. That's why I should have looked why I scratched out that
It was the
5.6.
5.5 looks like.
Yeah,
Looks like you didn't go back.
yeah,
So that would make their total.
yeah. So they should have been at 7.
So they're at 66,965.
Okay, thank y'all. Thanks, Commissioner. Unless you all tell me different, I'm going to go with the one I just gave you this morning that proposes that 7.6% raise across the board for elected officials. Any feelings?
No. So you and I already talked about it.
Yeah.
We came in and said,
Do we send a modification in, Judge, to TAC, how does that work on that survey that
It
they
works
keep?
down the road once that budget's approved.
Oh,
Yeah, what this is for is for us to get this done, to get these salaries, after we meet with the judges this afternoon at 2 o'clock, is to determine those salaries. They have to be published in the paper. If there's any change in salary or allowances for elected officials, they have to be published and then we consider them, those aren't official until the vote in the budget, but we have to notify the elected officials. So if they wish to appear in front of the Salary Grievance Committee, they can do that.
Cheryl, when do you think you'll have a grip on all things considered right now out on the table, pay-wise? How much money is that?
The total pay?
The total pay of increase, the total increase that we're considering to include our attorney, fixing our attorney issue and,
I'll have it probably later this week. I kind of needed some
Okay.
information in order to figure out how we were going to do
Okay.
that. We don't have a final number yet from TAC on our insurance, so right now I'm just budgeting on 5.9 average percent raise. So that's going to raise our insurance roughly to, $50. So we're looking at $850 an employee versus the $800 right now.
okay.
What did you use, 3.5?
The 5.9% is the average. That's
Oh, that, okay, yeah.
until I can get a hard number from them.
Have you talked to anybody down there? I haven't talked to Quincy or,
Corey emailed them last week, and they still don't have our numbers.
okay. I may try to bump them this week about
And,
that.
and we still, I guess, in the mix of things, we're looking at that insurance on the vehicles / yellow iron, and we don't have a cost. Now, I think Nancy
I have not seen that proposal.
and Debbie have finished some of those, so maybe they can quote us here pretty quick, and we can look at what that's going to entail.
I think we can get the numbers to them today.
Oh, okay.
And then Ernesto knows we want them back. They first said, oh, we'll have them some late August. And I said, late August won't do any good.
Right.
Not when we have to have our proposed budget out by August 15th.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, unless you all tell me different, then that's what's going to go, is this plan. And we'll get that ready for notification. And we'll be doing that in the Electra paper. I have the last edition of the Iowa Park paper here.
That is correct. The leader is now
Yeah.
You know, that's, I was telling Barry, we had discussed it, sad. I remember the paper at Iowa Park used to be the Herald. And I remember that closing and Bob and Dolores coming to town and opening up the leader, and it cycled all the way through, and we grew up with their kids, and
Yeah.
That was the Huckabee family.
yes, uh-huh.
We're gonna have to work this a little bit because there's possible twos not on here. These figures are a little bit off.
I did the math.
You got them all.
Yeah, Constable two's there.
I'll go off that 7.6.
Right there.
You
Oh,
just
sorry.
did the math.
Constable 1, 2, 3, and 4.
No, you didn't finish it.
Oh, okay.
Z-Pack was starting to wear out, so
Yeah. Yeah, dang, guys, I thought I did pretty good. Some of this may have been done in delirium, but. Okay, we did a great job last Friday on getting through most all this. I'm trying to see what else. Yeah. We'll be sure together on sheriff's office salaries and jail. Remember the jail, we left the same because they're the same because they got that big mid-year $8,000 increase. So we left that, and then in the deputies, we'll leave, that was that increase. And I don't know how we're doing on, the U.S. Marshal prisoner revenue.
I still haven't seen anything where they're negotiating
That's,
Anything on the rate of the rate that we brought to them.
okay. I watched something on the judge's listserv on trying to deal with, it's kind of like us trying to deal with the NCRS in Iowa Park. It's amazing when your renter tells you, well, we'll decide when we're going to leave. And we don't mind inconveniencing you until then.
You don't get to deal directly.
No.
Dealing with the second real estate arm of that.
Yeah, and they really don't know.
So the communication is terrible.
That's assuming communication started.
Beyond here, yeah, yeah.
Send the constable over with an eviction notice.
Judge, is that the ones that informed me that the other 11 people could not use the restroom?
Yeah, yeah,
I was just-
yeah. We got that straightened out. You know, this is our building, not your building.
He informed me that too.
No.
I informed him.
All he pays is utilities there. Yeah. No, I thought you handled that well. So. He did call me, and I said, she's that way, you better go along with her. It's easy.
Karen, I'm in Lori.
Well, first he tried to tell me we couldn't hold over the voting over there. I'm like, yes, we can.
Okay. I didn't have anything else on tax assessor collector, other than that one change I told you about. We are going to have a discussion with the tax assessor collector on Friday about some salary movement. He wants to be considered for currently, and he's got some revenue, not revenue, but some other cuts to look at covering that cost. The stray animals, that's one of those we never know. Sheriff's Honor Guard, there was no request for change in that. The other thing I want to ask you in the treasurers, and I certainly do not mean this as any discredit to this province, but that's one of the upper chief deputy salaries that we have. Does that, I'm not suggesting lowering it, but do you all want to apply the 5% to it, since Ms. Providence has indicated that she hadn't said, she just indicated that she is considering retiring at the end of this year. Or you want to go ahead and put the 5% in there and do that?
What was that on, Judge?
Well, on the chief deputy treasurer, well, that's one of the higher, that's right at 48 something, I think, isn't it? I've got it in the book here. I got mine right here. She's at 48,916. And so, if for some reason Karen stays, then I think she should have it.
Yeah, no,
And it'll be up to the treasurer whether he brings somebody new in and pays that full amount or pays a lesser amount.
starts in at a lower
Yeah.
place.
Thought, it just came through my mind, I wanted to see if y'all had any guidance on it.
Would that not look odd if that's the one?
One you
that
set out?
doesn't fit the model that they're using for everyone else?
Yeah, we've called the 50,000 number out.
Yeah.
That's where it needs to stay.
Into
Yeah.
And if Karen does stay, then we can always come back in and amend that. Yeah.
Tanya, were those, when you had the TCDRS school, you had told us there were 17 individual meetings. Were those potential retirees that?
They were up there, and a couple of them, like Karen, some were just wanting to know how to get into how to use their own account. But I think for the most part, who I saw in the room, they were older. The jail I couldn't tell you because they have another crew up there.
Oh, I see.
We could, maybe to make that easier, Cheryl, I was just thinking what you were saying, is to put that in 409. And put that adjustment if we're there, but I think, I agree, I think that's a very competitive salary out there. Nancy, you got that? We'll add that, we'll put that in 409 that one. Okay. Okay, unless you all tell me anything different, the proposed salaries for attorneys in the DA's office, I will put those in. Public Defender's office, I'll do that. The adjustments in HR and IT. Am I leaving something else?
Judge, is it possible on, I know that Jim gave us maybe a more comprehensive overview of some of those positions, but I'm remembering that John had some, there may be some discretion needed. Could we not put that in 409? Because there were some specific slots to change, but then he didn't give any change to some of those others that may need adjustment. In my mind, it was $25,000 that was in limbo that he didn't really ask us about, but he was pointed on some slots that needed to be adjusted in order to retain. And 75,000 total was what I was had in my mind, 75 or 76,000, where in fact he was just showing us about $50,000 worth of change. And I didn't know if we needed to set some aside, and I'll have to look at my list again to see where I got that, you know, the copy, I made a copy.
Right.
But I just didn't want to miss. We're, I guess, 3 holes in now, and we've got to shore ourselves up there in both of those departments.
Well, you know, he does have, the good thing is the DA does have discretionary funds that he can make those adjustments.
And maybe that's some of what he's thinking.
And,
yeah.
you know,
Okay.
but we cannot consider that in what we do, but it is nice he has that at his discretion.
Yeah. Keeps him.
And he does use that a lot to
Do you know if all the district attorneys and criminal district attorneys throughout the state of Texas, whether they're in Harris County or Loving, aren't they paid the same?
I don't know.
The criminal district attorneys?
Yeah, and district attorney. I Googled that 3 different times, and I know less than when I Googled it. It talks about the average salary, who's the highest paid lawyer in Texas. All I wanted was, I thought it was a uniform salary like it is for district judges.
Is it based on time in office, though? Does it have that schedule where,
Okay, but the base salary should be the same.
so is that the same, district judges all have a base salary they're
Yeah,
working
base
on,
and
then
county court
longevity
law,
adds
yeah.
to that?
Yeah.
Is that county court at law the same?
Yeah,
Okay.
and, our county court of law judges are maxing out on their longevity pay, but that's good. That's good that they've been there that long. Not good they're maxing out particularly. They can, new date and time aren't going to work. Yeah. Well, yeah, it really needs, and that's what they agreed to was today. Okay. We're talking about an email from one of the judges saying the district judges.
Might be flexible on the hour.
Yeah.
Do that.
Well, and we actually, what's posted for today could be handled tomorrow too, but that's it. It's,
Got that close.
yeah. Okay. I cannot think of anything else hanging out there, and I know there has to be. We cleared the deal on the outside senior citizens groups today. That's set up to meet that.
Judge, when
Yes.
does the CPI come into play for the jail insurance, for our health insurance in the jail? Will we see a increase in 2023? Or did it skip a 2023?
It skips one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But that was one of the things I told him this morning. We were discussing that, it's a fairly large increase to the sheriff's budget, so.
It was over $1 million increase. Which, in looking at our taxes, what we're going to, in the truth in taxation, there's going to be some brain wrinkles, worse than last year, in trying to look at the number of prisoners we're over. Then there was an email this morning I read about the backup on mental health patients, that if you got them in your jail, you're looking at 2 years holding them. So there's some question about what's going to happen. Is this going to be like paper-ready inmates? Or after 45 days, are we going to start reimbursing us for this? And as Jim Allison pointed out, and one of the judges pointed out, they're short-staffed. Guess what? That means they've got money. And,
Well, Judge, who determines those inmates to be mental health?
Okay.
How's that?
It's called a 46B commitment, and it's done by a court. They have a mental competency hearing, And if the court decides that they're incompetent to stand trial, then they send them to a mental health
And
institution.
do we know that number each day, kind of where we're at?
Yeah, because you had a court order on them.
Okay.
So. But our other problem is when you pick, a policeman sees someone on the street, engages them, and determines they need to be in a mental health institution, they can take them straight out there. The question is, will they admit them and take them? And if they need forensics, that goes to the Vernon, North Texas State Hospital campus, and they're not accepting any. Texas Juvenile Justice Division is not accepting any juveniles, and neither is the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
And is that all from staffing perspectives? Is that one of the largest
That's what
reasons?
they're saying. It's staffing. But I sent an email, copied you all, to both our state senators and our state representative, and asking them to look into this. This is serious, and the report back this morning was, in that email from Jim Allison, was that the additional money for Texas Department of Criminal Justice was used on the border wall. So maybe if we'd add 3 more sides to that border wall, and just go ahead and make those containment centers, I thought.
Well, did you see the request of the Harris County Sheriff to the commissioners because they were backing up?
Yeah. He has more mental health patients in his county jail than the state of Texas has in their state facility.
Oh, me.
It's pretty amazing the state can shut down and not accept new inmates, but we can't. Due to staffing concerns. We have staffing concerns every day.
Yes.
But we can't close the doors or not admit people.
Okay, I realize that's tangentially budget, because it's how do we brace for that as that continues? And, yeah. Anything in road and bridge that you all had questions on that we haven't addressed? I was noticing here records management, that's functioning well. Courthouse security, the realignment the sheriff did there has seemed to have worked well. That's going. Cheryl, looking at budgeting and next year, we're still doing in ARPA funds is roughly the 15 million.
Yes, well, you mean the 25.6 total?
Well, the whole 25.6, but 10 million of that 25.6 is lost revenue. Is it constrained by any of the same ARPA guidelines?
Government services is what it is. So
Okay.
basically, we can use it for anything, we would use our normal revenue. Yes.
Okay. And then, okay,
I just have to track it and prove that we used it for government.
but does it have the time constraint on use of it?
Yes.
Same time constraint. Well,
Same time constraint.
so much for that evil thought I had.
Yeah, because otherwise it'd be nice if we could just take that 10 million and stick it in Jen
Yeah.
and just let it, same time constraints.
Okay. So it doesn't matter whether we spend ARPA or,
Right, I just have to pay for it.
so we're still running against that 26 deadline.
Yep.
I'm just looking and trying to schedule, and do we need to budget that separate and look at how much construction we're taking and our grants we're going to give to people for that?
Oh, you mean like for our, because we've already allotted what we're going to spend our 25.6 on.
Yeah,
As far as what we're basically prepaying out of 401 that I can then reimburse 401 for.
Yeah.
Because that's where the bulk of that's coming from. Yeah, we probably need to look at that.
okay. I'm hoping to do that. I'd like to do more detail on our revenue breakdown. you know, Willie, the thing with Willie gone, it's made us dig a little farther where he had all that right in his gray matter.
But I think that that's gonna get us further in our transparency, which
Yes.
helps build our county towards maybe the GFOA budget award in future years. So they like to see all that detail.
Okay.
And I think so do the taxpayers will too, especially when their property values are going up and we're considering, you know, how we're gonna spend their money and if we need to raise taxes or et cetera, they're gonna want to see that.
Okay. Well, right now, what I'm looking at is somewhere is probably between 2.8 cents and 3.4. That's a swag right now. So, okay. Anything else you all can think of on budget?
Where could we go make 100%?
Yeah. Well, let's see if we can get
Just to help out.
if we could get the Attorney General to quit playing favorites on some of our lawsuit stuff, that revenue could come in. And that revenue, we're going to have to look at. It may have some restrictions on it, but hopefully we should see it between now and into the first quarter of next year after he gets through playing with it.
Judge, I looked where, and Tracy had told me about the seeing those fees on constables. Should we consider that constable sheriff fee? I don't know what the norm is, but we didn't, the two rates that we go with, the 200 and 125, what most common, we didn't adjust that rate. Should we take into account, or, I mean, Tracy, is that a normal amount? Are we still high for our area, or?
I don't know that we're high, but according to the statute where you can set those fees, there are certain parameters, they have to be based on actual cost, and I know what we're dealing with in terms of fuel, and all those kind of things. So when I sent that out to all the players after Constable Judge Little had brought that to our attention, I sent them the parameters set forth in that statute, said it needs to be based on actual cost. Now, whether it is or not, I don't know the answer to that, but that's where everybody landed.
Okay.
In terms of what I presented.
Okay.
I don't know how that was calculated, because I don't know how they keep up with all that. So, but we are, assumed within the statute, since those are the parameters
Right.
set for them.
Okay.
If we didn't increase those, given, that's somewhere between 5 and 10% is a safe consideration, given nothing else costs of living index. We're
Right.
Well,
That was kind of my thought. I just wondered if that, and going off what Tracy says, could do a CPI of sorts to those and justify them.
well, if we did 8% right now, I don't think there's any argument with that.
Right. And what are the chances on that same thing? Is this what we're seeing CPI-wise right now, which is astronomical? Could that take in a toll on what they've already fairly committed on medical? Could that drive that and force them to use a higher rate on us than the 5% that they're, or?
Oh, you're talking about, okay.
On medical?
I was having trouble connecting the dots.
On the I was just going off the CPI, knowing that right now, if we pull the CPI, what it would look like, and I know that they're going to do that on us medically, and they should use a medical form of CPI, but I didn't know.
Well, but that's not what they put in their contract. That, Ms. Jennings, that wasn't medical CPI they have in there. It's just consumer price index, isn't it? Yeah. And I really think my recollection is our first year is 0 on the renewal.
I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I remember we asked specifically on that.
Yeah. So,
But I know we're on a limited time on those fees. If we do take that, like you say, 8%, and go ahead and bump the two common rates that we use the most.
well, but I'd look at it, can you apply that 8% across all of it?
Well, that's true too, just
I mean,
even our hourly
If
rate.
it costs more here, it costs more there, and all of it, because all of those things taken, we're raising our benefits. You know, look at our costs here, it's, you know, and to me, fees are, somebody's getting a direct service, whereas property taxes, you're paying for the general thing, and, you know, I don't see any relief coming from the state with their new $300 million a quarter additional sales tax. The only relief I've seen, certainly is welcome, is relief in school M&O tax rates. But you always wonder how long that promise will last. But I did mention to one of our senator's staff about a consideration of why not lower the sales tax by a penny. And I got a look of, you can't be saying that. So, at any rate, it's fine to lower somebody else's tax, but don't lower mine. All right, anything else? Okay, I do want to ask him, we will possibly be reconvening at 2 o'clock today, although the district judges who, I thought that was their idea of that time.
Morgan and September, 3.
Probably what, fourth one, what? So let's,
Given the amount of the notice, it shouldn't be a problem.
oh, okay.
Do we have to convene at 2 and table if that's, I mean, what's the protocol?
Okay. If, Ms. Jennings, help me here if I say this wrong, because I've only done this once or twice in the program, is to either one, send notice that we're going to, especially if we're going to run into the next day. Otherwise, you know, you have to convene no earlier than 2, but we could convene at 3. But right now, it sounds like everything's on for 2 o'clock. That's what,
Well, I mean, they didn't specifically say that they weren't going to be here. Just the
Okay.
question as to whether, the question was, could everybody be here?
we're going to be here at 2 o'clock. And hopefully we'll have some clarity of it. Okay? Yeah.
Jim, did you receive what Judge was talking about this morning on?
He made a copy for me.
Before you
So I have it.
Okay, good.
We've got about elected official.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I redid the math on that, and I'm gonna have new numbers and all that.
Judge, Nikki said he was going to take the lead on this.
Long time no see.
Sounds fair to me.
No, I just.
Not exactly what he said, but something like that.
Hard to wait for us.
Something like that.
Underneath the tree.
Something like that.
You wanna give me that mic?
I think we've met before, but it's been a while.
Judge, how you doing today? Good.
You doing okay?
Yeah, for a Monday.
Go ahead, the idea about the 3 was there. Any idea if the other three judges are playing? They will not be.
He's got 4 minutes, so if you want him, very good.
I got to wait.
Okay. All right, it's 2:01. You ready, Nick? You got it? It's 2:01, we'll call this meeting Wichita County Commissioners. This is a new session being now at 2 o'clock. Only one item on the agenda is to hear a request from the district and the county court of law judges for an additional stipend. County is committed to give up to $18,000 to the district court judges, the county court law judges, and by that same law, it also passes to the criminal district attorney in Wichita County. Judge Butler, which one of y'all wants to?
Well, I guess I'll be doing this since Judge McKnight has to get back to court. What we've asked for is the 8312, I believe is the number that was arrived at. We received the juvenile supplement, whether that's included as part of that 18,000, there's a difference of opinion on the offices that I've talked to at OCA and among the other judges that I've told with regard to this. So the number that was arrived at was the remainder, which would be 8312. As you're well aware, and we've talked about this before, 82 to 84% of the judges in the state receive the full compensation of 18%. If you count our juvenile supplement, that puts us somewhere around 2% of the judges. If you don't count it, that puts you in at the very bottom with 5 district judges is what they went by, not county court at all, because under Government Code 25.005, I believe it is, that's how our pay is set. So it looks at district judges, but it will apply to county court law judges due to that statute. So that's what we've arrived at. So that number was 8312. Just as a reminder, only half of my salary and Judge King's salary is paid by the county. I know the benefits package is also part of that. The district court judges, county doesn't pay their salary, that's state. So I mean, you're looking at a 8312 times 5 would be the total of it for the county's cost. And I've looked at it as if you put it into the way the judicial salaries are now on the stair step level, if you put it where the middle of where everybody is at, that's about a 5.3% raise, if you want to call it a raise. It really is, it's a supplement. So whatever questions y'all have for me, I don't know.
That juvenile supplement, where does that money come? Does it come through the county to that board, or is there some state monies in there too?
It's county money.
Is it the part of the county money that's in the juvenile budget, or is it the other?
The whole juvenile budget is, other than the 2 special funds that Kirk has, that's all. And it's a general appropriation of the county. Technically, it's not a line appropriation. So that's lumped into that sum of money.
And it's not just the judges that receive that. Judge Gossam also receives it, and so does the district attorney.
Doesn't the district attorney?
He doesn't receive it as a juvenile, but you pay him
as a supplement. Right. I think we're required by law, Barry pointed that out to us a long time ago, that whatever supplement we give to the judges has to be given to the criminal district attorney.
No, I'm not the district attorney, so I don't know.
Yeah, you don't have a dog in that fight.
No, I do not. But, I mean, that's, if you're looking at 84% of the judges across the state, I mean, that's 390 something, another 400 plus. I've got the number here. You can do the math. And that's all we're asking for. I mean, like I said, there is some difference of opinion on the individuals I called. I know Commissioner Fincannon has made some calls as well. I get different, depending on the person I get a different answer, whether a juvenile supplement is actually included. I take a broader reading of the statute, which says all of the supplements included. And to me, to be fair, not get into any gray areas, it would be the 8312.
Now, Gary, are you and Greg at the same pay
Yes.
level for your time here?
Yes, we're both completing our 3rd term, 12 years.
And so whatever that salary is, the state reimburses us a full salary So we only pay for one of y'all.
Right, half. Yeah, if you look at that.
Yeah.
Base salary.
Yeah, but it's the total amount of whatever your state salary is or whatever that,
Whatever a district judge of my experience would be paid less $1,000.
less 1,000, okay,
Right.
okay.
And they reimburse, pardon me?
Minus any supplements. The state didn't pay.
Right. Minus the
No,
reimbursement.
yes, that's right, but,
The state pays roughly half of their base salary on the county court longevity. Their supplement, they're not their supplement, their longevity pay is $16,000.
We don't have longevity pay. That's not the way the statute reads.
What does it read?
It's not longevity pay.
It's your
Longevity pay kicks in after 12 years. That's an 8,400. It's not longevity pay.
Okay, what is the 16,000?
The what?
Is it 16,000 every 2 years, 4 years?
The state salary as set now goes on the sliding scale. For district judges, it's 140, 0 to 4, 154, 4 to 8, 168, 8 plus. At 12 years, state longevity pay kicks in at 8,400. It's the same, you look at it the same way for the CCLs, you
Okay.
just subtract 1,000. Longevity doesn't kick in until 12 plus.
Okay.
But that's factored in because you have a maximum salary. That longevity is factored into the maximum salary plus the 80,000 supplement. And the reason they have it maxed out at that is because most counties will supplement. Roughly 82 to 84% of the counties will supplement. I mean, if you want to look at it a different way, you look at it as a COLA. I mean, if you, which we never get, none of the county employees get a COLA increase, but if you're looking at that, I mean, 2019 was 1.7, 2020 1.9, 2021 2.9. This year's an anomaly of 7.9. If you look at it that way, there's different ways to look at it. You can spin it however you want. The way I look at it is the maximum is 18, and we're part of the way there to come in line with everybody else and do what we always do when we have employees, look at what everybody else is paying. There you go. You get the 8312. And it's, you're talking about, what, 40, what would that be? 41,000?
yeah, somewhere.
41,000 spread out across 5 judges.
Well, but still, to us, it's going to be 6,000.
To include, if you were going to include the district attorney.
Well, I think we have.
I don't know. You'd have to talk to council about that. I don't know if your council's here.
No, people like it too, I think, but like-
So, I mean, that's the way I look at it. And you were talking earlier when we were having budget discussions about 3% raise, 5% raise. You know, judges have never participated in those. Commissioners have never had the judges participate in those. The $1,200 bumps, the $1,500 bumps, whatever you were giving to all the county employees, we never got that.
That's not true. You got it in juvenile, supplement.
Got in juvenile supplement.
Okay.
It never got onto our salary.
Well, because we can't. We can't apply it to your salary. It's got to be a
But
supplement.
supplement you can. That's what the maximum salary means.
Okay. If it's a supplement here or a supplement here, you're getting more money, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. What I'm getting at is that traditionally, that's not a participation. Judge, you're the one who sets the supplement. I mean, traditionally, that's the way it's done.
Yeah, but it's, you know,
So whatever you give is, I sign your letter and send it back to you.
fine.
I don't know. I've never questioned you about that.
Okay. I mean, you all could have offered something different, but those have always ridden.
Well, we're offering something different.
Today, you all.
Yeah. And this is the first time it's ever been done.
Right, right.
Even though this has been available since going way, way back.
You talked about it probably 3 years ago.
No. That's not the first time it came available.
No.
It's always
you
been
brought it
available.
up. I don't think it's ever been brought up before.
No, it probably hasn't. You probably haven't.
No, at least I don't recall it.
No.
But, I mean, in essence, there's 5 judges and we pay the salary of 1. I mean, that's truthfully,
Yes,
the county's out of pocket on 1 salary out of 5.
that'd be correct.
So,
Pretty good. Wish we had that in other departments.
Yeah, and like I said, the overall impact on your budget is roughly $41,000. It's 5.3% on us. I mean, we're still not even hitting inflation, and I'm not even counting this year, because this year is crazy and it's hurting everybody, I get it. But if you look back, if you go back and look at a traditional COLA increase, you're hitting the number right about. And I just ran the last 3 years on that. So, like I said, I mean, it's y'all's decision, of course. Do what you like to do. But we would appreciate it, certainly, all of us would.
So any or all of this?
Pardon?
Any or all of that? Let's say they're putting half this year, half of next year. Something.
Can't bind the future commissioners court, so
No.
I don't really care for doing that. But you do whatever you feel is fair.
Okay.
If you don't think it's fair, don't do it.
I think there needs to be something done. I'm just looking at, we keep adding on, and I'm trying to work with a certain amount of tax increase, and this end of that deal keeps getting longer.
Well, we would be maxed out, and that's the 18,000 is the max.
Yeah.
And like I said, depending on who you talk to, I keep on going back and forth on that, but I've gotten 3 or 4 different answers, and it drives me crazy. There should be one answer.
And I will point out that if you do the requested amount of $1.3, whatever it is, in future years, when you do increases for anybody else, the G award at that point is excluded. It's done. The G award never goes any farther.
Yeah, we would be maxed out on the contribution.
Yeah. Well, so hopefully the legislature does something else too.
Oh, I'm never going to go for stuff like that. I have no clue what's going to happen down there.
What are we thinking in adjustments, or have y'all thought on your people? I mean, are we, I was not clear on what we were talking about there.
I believe y'all brought up the 3% for those under a certain amount and 5% over.
Okay, so you're thinking the
I
standard.
was fine with that. I had no issues with that at all.
It's more than you all did propose.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely. It was more than I had proposed, for sure.
Okay,
And I went back and reworked my budget as best I could to try to make it more realistic and find some, there was some stuff there that I was like, I don't use this ever. And so, I mean, I've reworked as best I can, but in the, what is this, my 12th time? 11th time? I've always turned back money. I've never maxed it out, I don't think. I never remember doing it.
One of the things that I brought up to the judge at night was your all people are not on time clock plus, but your people are 90 cents an hour.
Right.
And we really want them on there.
Well, I believe you've got agreements with other departments in the county that would be willing to discuss doing something along their lines.
Okay, so one of those departments, the office manager puts in everybody's time and county board, but, you know, if you all decide, I'm not, it's just, they're on there, when that person terminates, there's not a hassle of trying to, how many hours of vacation and sick leave they have.
That's my understanding. We have been keeping track.
Well,
So
we
my
had
office
clerk
would have-
recently from one of the judicial officers, and the judge called coming up with time, unless that's been resolved since.
That has not been resolved yet.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think my office is.
It's not your problem.
Okay.
No.
That's
That's
good.
when he recently left.
It is a recently terminated employee with no records to their dues, vacations, and time. So we are having difficulty auditing that record.
And when you're dealing with FMLA and other things as well, it's very helpful to have those records.
Sure, you're absolutely not. I think we've been keeping a good track of ours, so I don't think the issue is with the ones who are standing before you.
Okay. I don't know either way, but I'm thankful what you say for that. But it just becomes a problem. The other thing is, those people are jury paid for a 40-hour work week, and that varies significantly sometimes.
Yeah, it does. Sometimes we're here early, sometimes we're here late, sometimes we work through lunch. I mean, so, and that's why I think keeping track of it like we do is probably the best way to do it.
And I haven't seen those records, but Federal Labor Standards frowns on handguns at every morning at 8 o'clock, every day at noon.
I don't think mine are that way, but I can check.
It'd be nice to know.
I can make sure it's not that way.
But we're
I
gonna
mean,
work
if it's
for it.
gonna be accurate, it's not gonna be that way. I mean, I'm just telling you.
Well, I know just from passing through that those hours are in almost every office here, including mine. Most people are here at 8 o'clock, most people leave at noon, 1 and 5, but there's always going to be some variation.
There's differences, yeah. I mean, because sometimes we'll be working through line, sometimes career trials will go late, sometimes. A lot of times mine, I know, I can only speak for my office because I don't stick my nose in everybody else's, but a lot of times mine's here at 7:30 because her husband is higher up at the sheriff's department and drops her off every morning and he has to be there. So, I mean, yeah, it varies. We've got a fair amount of applications in. I think we have some good people to interview. And then Judge King and I will be getting together shortly to figure out who we're going to interview and see if we get that filled. I know it will be, I would like to have it filled especially.
Yes, sir.
I'm tired of looking at inventories, but that's part of it, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Judge United,
I think it's going pretty well.
okay. We'll discuss this some. It's got to be decided this week. We've got to get this posted in the house.
Sure.
And,
Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
So the big question is, do we do something, do half, do all, or some other combination? I think something is deserved.
Well, one of the things, Judge, is that you have the ability right now to, probably more so than we do in the year that follows, if you're going to meet it or get to that threshold, now's the time to take advantage of it just from, it's going to be the easiest for us to deal with there. Next year's going to be a lot more difficult with, and we'll have burned some of our increments and we're not going to have that. But now, let me make sure I'm clear because it's really not fair on Kurt, Jim, we don't have to stop the increase on those positions in juvenile if we want to give them a bump. We just right now have always stayed equal, but those judges will all be tapped out at this point here. They can't receive a juvenile.
Doesn't affect employees, doesn't affect their employees. It is only on those 5 judges and criminal district.
What I'm talking about is when we've always gave increments to the juvenile board, but they won't be able to receive that increase in juvenile.
But that juvenile board pay is part of the overall juvenile budget, but those people are completely separate from that. So you can do whatever you want to do with salaries of the employees of the juvenile board. Technically, we give the juvenile board a lump sum of money. They could actually come back in and redivide it.
Well, no, I'm talking about just the stipend you receive for serving on the juvenile board.
Right.
When there's, 6 people, district attorney, county judge, Kurt, and the 5 judges, right?
Well, yes, the Kirk serves as a staff member. He's not.
But he gets that,
No, he does not get.
oh, he don't get a supplement?
No.
Oh,
No, you have to
okay.
be a judge to get that.
Oh, okay.
Or district attorney.
Okay, but only 2 of those positions until the law changes. They'll now be all maxed out between this 8,300 and their juvenile stipend. And they'll never receive another increase until the law allows them to receive an increase juvenile board-wise, right?
Okay, you can change it and do something different with that. Well, it's still gonna be 18,000. I don't care how you divide it up.
Right.
If you wanted to take the county judge who gets that supplement based on juvenile board membership, then you could, let's say, decide 10,000 of it's gonna come from juvenile board and 8,000 as a supplement. And then a couple of years later, you decide 12,000 comes from juvenile board and 6,000 comes from supplement.
But we're still funding the juvenile.
Well, you still are. You're still funding out of general fund, but you're changing who gets what. So if you want to give the county judge additional juvenile court supplement money, then you raise that and lower this. Still adds up to 18,000. And then eventually you might look at all 18,000 up to the juvenile board, and the county judge then will, receive that supplement. But as long as you're subjecting the county judge's pay to the same percent increase or same increases, I've turned down for the last 3 years. I got the $1,200 from regular pay and the $1,200 from juvenile court, and so I turned that down. That made it fair for me to get both. I mean, you can use that as a lever.
But either way, whichever pot it's coming out of, it's our pot, though.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the only ones hanging it up.
Has that 18,000 cap been at 18,000 for so long?
I think it has been. I used to, actually, what was really funny in this whole thing, that used to be the supplemental pay. It was 18,000. Then the legislature came through and gave the district judges for the first time ever a big raise. And so when they did that, we cut back our supplement some. And that did not go over well.
But like Meredith and Jeff are behind the curve just from time served compared to these other judges that have been here longer. They're going to take them some time to get there.
Charlie's not. It's not good. I mean, he's not up as far as Greg and Jerry.
Okay.
But they will all hit there. And then I think what Judge Butler was saying, I did not understand some of its semantics, but when they hit 12 years, then they're going to be subject to a longevity. There's a different term you use for it.
Does that come from us or the state?
It comes from the state. Okay. And I'm saying more power to them until it comes from the state.
Well, now, that's under review right now. Jim, you may know more about it than me, but the governor's appointed a commission to study that judicial pay. And I know that's going to be something that they'll present to the legislature this next go-round.
Well, with Jim, I'm not familiar with how they, the retirement of state elected members of the legislature is based on the base salary of a district judge?
Yes, they decoupled it either last session or the session before when they did that big increase in pay. They decoupled the legislature from any further increases.
Oh, okay.
In order to be able to, I'm sure y'all know nothing about voting yourself a pay raise, but when they made that decision to increase judicial pay at that time, they decoupled that raise from their retirement.
I got you.
Now, in the future, will that happen again? I don't know. I think that may have been the impetus behind. They did that as the one step, and then they're doing the study to see what they want to do next session.
They may well separate, and it probably should be. Because it's been really unfair to those judges. A judge making $175,000 here is a whole lot different than a judge making $175,000 in Travis or Harris, or his cost of living in 2 places, 3 places, extremely different. Okay, what's your
I have a question, and this is not on their budget. How many employees are in their salaries? Is there 2 employees per court?
You've got the court
so there's two, so I just wanna make sure I'm understanding this. Last year was 131,000. This year proposed is 149,000. That's for 2 employees. So that's an $18,000 a year jump for 2 employees is what they're asking for? Or did I just hear him say he was fine going with the?
He's fine to stick with the standard that we're.
And not go by this?
And not go by that.
Okay.
I told him that's what he was saying, because I
Because
just
one of
looked at
his,
the same
do
number.
you know the breakdown of what the 2 employees are? Because one of them's at like 99.
So the
aren't
court
they?
reporter is 99 and the court admin is
Well, the court reporter in the county court of law is 99, the court reporter
quarter
in
in the
the district court, there's one, we kept that $1,000 difference.
Okay. So the 99,000 will get a 5% raise?
No,
3% raise? And the other employee will get a
5%.
5% raise?
But that will cost, I think that'll put them over the 50,000.
well, going into 23, yes, but they'll get 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Will's money, correct? What's in our book?
That's correct.
Okay. That's what I was.
So the 3 and 5 is based on 22 salary.
That's correct.
I wondered that the other day. Okay, that's good.
Okay. Commissioner Watts has kind of indicated that for us to go with the whole amount this year.
I just feel like our leverage is such that we can consume it better than we can. And then it throws us, if we end up not doing anything next year salary-wise, we're still giving them salary
And
increases.
the whole is 8312.
The whole is 8312.
Goes up to the 9688.
Okay, 9688 for
Is
each.
the juvenile board, then you have
Okay.
the 8312.
Well, that's a little different than 19,000 that we were originally talking about. Were we talking about 18?
Well, add those together.
That's the total, 18.
Well, but, in other words, it's not 9688 as opposed to 8312.
No.
It's 9688 and.
Plus
80.
8312,
Okay, see,
yeah.
that's not how imagine how that little deal changes everything.
Yeah. Put that little plus sign.
Put that plus sign in there.
We wouldn't have met on the other if we were just talking about $500. But when we publish that in the paper, we'll have to show they receive, we don't show their state salary, we only show their juvenile board supplement from the county, and now state supplement from the county.
Do we pay the full retirement on those judge salaries or just?
Just the 2 county court at laws, right?
Yeah, well, we pay it on the juvenile board, and now we'll pay on the state supplement.
Okay, but not the total?
Not the total.
Okay.
I'm correct on that.
So they don't participate in our retirement?
Only the county court at law judges.
Okay.
I think the district judges got a real lot better retirement.
Well, they get their supplement amount.
The supplement amount is.
Oh, it's part of ours?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
So the full cost,
okay.
if, the 8312 times the 6 people, all their social security, Medicare.
Does come out of that.
retirement, That's total cost is like 62,000. It's not,
Oh, gotcha.
the total cost of the county would be to include all of the extra benefits that, outside of what their gross benefit is.
But the state pays us the benefit amount on
Yeah, we'll get a little bit of that back.
the amount they supplement on the regular salary.
Yes,
Then we pay it on our supplements.
yes.
So, cost all in. What is the total cost?
A lot.
So the,
62.
yeah, that's 62 would be the full cost of the 8312 times the 6. Then you got the other 96 juvenile, which is going to be over, if you looked at it in total,
Well, right now, County Board of Law judges, right now, they're all different, except for County Board of Laws are 167 plus the supplements.
So 167 plus the 18?
Yeah, that's their first one.
And then add 23% on that plus the health insurance.
Yeah. So really, you're looking at about 135,000 to give 6 members, $18,000 total plus benefits. But we're already getting. So this will be an additional cost for up to 62,000. But like you guys, our judges are some of the lowest paid in the state. You guys are some of the lowest paid officials in the state.
You said our judges are?
Well, at least we're consistent.
Our judges are some of the lowest paid ones in the state.
How can they be if they're set?
Because they haven't been on the bench for very long yet.
Yeah.
Our district judges. We have a new group.
So it's not because the pay is low, it's because of time on the job.
Well, they're not getting
Yeah, but they still have the same amount of work, so. Same work, because it's on training scale.
Well, I do like the fact that they conceded on their employees back to the 3%.
Yes, and I think they will concede on that. If the district court can get your district judges to concede on time clock, your CCL will follow, your JPs will follow. They're all hinging that on the district judges.
Well, I've got a hinge I'm gonna put in the budget preface. Which anyone, if you all go on, is anyone not on time clock will not receive the increase.
Right, which we put in last year's budget breakfast talked on, so I don't mind and I'll follow through if that's what y'all wanna do, but if we're gonna hold it, then we need to hold it.
If you're gonna set the rules, you need to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey,
and I will,
there'll be a lot of squawking come first paycheck in January.
We did have a caveat.
yes.
I got a little smarter since last year.
Yeah.
We're not gonna argue about paying.
So
We're
then
talking
you
about
and I
paying
are
the
gonna be
increase.
out on.
And I got a bigger guy coming in, I think, to enforce that.
Yeah, last year,
The judge isn't concerned at all.
yours did, we did say, legislative labor on you. This is gonna say that British participated in the increase.
Yeah.
So,
I think we can, if y'all are willing to battle it, I think we can win that. But I think it's gonna be a hard one to battle for them in the public eye.
well, if we're gonna spend the money that we have on that system, we need to use it.
Right, and it would be very helpful at the very least to track it with your second year vacation.
And it's
Now,
not hard.
Those employees are hourly employees per FSLA. If they work more than 40 hours, by law, we are supposed to pay them
Do
overtime.
any of them two employees ever get overtime?
No.
Well, we don't have any time records, so there's no way to know.
So they haven't put in for any?
No.
This year,
No.
have they put in for any overtime?
No.
But let's just
Okay.
say we get a disgruntled employee that works for a judge, and they've been putting in 60 hours a week on a big case. Yes, they've had other weeks where they work less. Let's say something get
They
fired.
file a complaint.
They're gonna
Yeah,
file a
file a
complaint.
complaint.
It doesn't matter that we paid the, that they didn't get overtime earlier in the year, but we didn't pay the overtime.
Correct.
And Cheryl, what is a reporter that's got a couple of requests for appealed transcripts, and they're working at home, on that as well, can they still argue overtime?
So, they probably could, except that they give us a bill for those, so.
I don't think, they can double dip, they can
They
do it
double
while they're
dip.
here, and they were paying them for both, but I
But
don't
they
think
do
they can
also
do that on the
pay for
overtime.
their own equipment. So that transcription equipment is very expensive.
They have their equipment, they are licensed professionals. I think it's a good argument there with them.
We could probably make the argument with them because of the extra certifications that they have and because of their high salary, they provide for their own equipment. And they can do that work for someone else and still bill them, so. But we're
I've talked to people at our conferences, sometimes the Court Reporters Association will attend, and you could ask one of their reps on this side of the table, are you exempt or not exempt, and ask the other one here, you've got two different answers. But as I look and read the law, they are licensed, they are schooled, separate professional schooling, they have independent product, or when the only time they have deadlines when they get a court order to do the stanter appeal from a court, and once that's done right away, that's the only time, and that's not their local court usually dictating that, that's a different appellate court. So, I think they stand there.
Regardless of whether they're using time clock plus or not, they're required to keep a timesheet of some sort by law.
Well, and what's the exposure on overtime for the legal secretaries? I wouldn't think it would be.
I wouldn't either, but it only takes one complaint to land in the paper.
Well, we had one. One of the judges who's no longer on the bench fired his court coordinator. She filed for overtime because she worked 39 hours one week, 38 another, and 37 another. Meredith was the civil attorney then, came back and said you have to work a 40-hour work week before you qualify for overtime. So I thought about digging that back out and sending it to say, does this ring a bell here anywhere?
But if we at least can get them on time clock and start taking vacation time, that would be.
But they need to be actually using time clock,
Right.
not just.
And I don't care who enters this form.
But, yeah, I mean, it's a simple procedure that, I mean, look at LaDonna, to me, that's the most complicated. I mean, they're willing to do it, and she does it ferociously, but, you know, that's a lot harder than just the people in their own offices tagging in.
But she's only got to do it on the non-exempt people. On the others, she simply enters vacation or sick.
Oh, okay,
Right, yeah.
okay.
So like the attorneys are exempt, so
Oh,
she's
okay.
exempt for sick and vacation.
Okay.
Very professional.
But the one that, what would police that overtime on the court coordinators is that the judges aren't drawing overtime. So that's what I'm saying, the exposure on that wouldn't be.
I don't think it's there.
Tremendous.
And it might not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You may have an instance, and if you just have to pay it, then that's not too bad, because when you get into the legal, that's when it gets tough.
But Cheryl's all too familiar with the person we had in the auditor's office who claimed overtime because she was doing bookkeeper work even though she was a CPA. And we didn't get very qualified with that.
Well, all those rules were not written for the employer, that's for sure.
That is correct. And those organizations will always be on the outside of the employee versus the employer. Why is in the TWC hearing every other week?
Yes, I was going to say, those are unemployment compensation here. You won't enjoy it. You're guilty as the employer, you'll put that. Okay, so we want to go with the whole, and I need a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
If they get on the time clock.
You said.
Well, they're not subject.
Well, no, I know they're not, but if they make their staffs get on the time clock.
Well, let's put that in the policy and try that, and then we'll take care of everybody. But, you know, if they don't want the raise, they don't get it.
Well, Judge Butler didn't bow up over it too bad.
No.
You know, so that really.
Well, he's aware of how the DA does theirs, and I don't care, as long as they're reporting it, and they're signing off on it, works for me.
Well, my precinct guys were, some of the later to the party, and they adopted very well, and it's just not.
You'll have no issues with it.
You're worrying about a problem you really don't have.
Yeah,
You don't know that.
It never was a problem.
It never was a problem. And, so.
Oh.
Supplements 8312.
Yes.
Jim, did you have thoughts on that at all?
$83.12.
Oops. I gotta go.
to the DC and CCL judges and the CDA. Okay.
Judge, you'll mess around and make a district judge mad, and then you'll get sued. It's not good.
I didn't even make that one mad, I didn't think.
I'm just saying, you wind up in his courtroom, that's the.
Yeah, that's a good thing I can't have.
Yeah,
Somebody's courtroom, but not here.
yeah, that's true.
I've always argued it's unfair for any member of the Commissioners Court to go in front of a district judge or former district judge, because they all are biased.
Well, judges, that is John on some kind of pay schedule like a county court at law?
I cannot find that, what I'm looking for in there. I put it in Google, and it comes up, so maybe there is, now they've got, here's the base salary of a district attorney or criminal district attorney, and then there may be these longevity, things.
Pretty sure that's how it works, Judge. I looked at it on Texas Tribune, and it seems like all criminal district attorneys are making the same
I think that's
dollar.
where that is. I saw some reference to that. But I'm mad at Texas. No, it's Texas public policy. God, it doesn't go outside. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Finn, to give the entire supplement of 8312 to the district court judges, the county court of law judges, and to the criminal district attorney. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. It is 2:43.